What's up, everybody? This is Fred Richani of TSC right here at New York Comic Con 2019, Jacob Javits Center, New York City. We come here every year, and man, it keeps getting bigger. It keeps getting better. I want you guys to sit back, relax, and enjoy some highlights of NYCC 19. Staying alongside our old friend Mike Kingston of Headlocked Comic, author, creator. He has got a gigantic line, as usual, as is the case every NYCC. Mike, how's 2019 treating you?
It's all right. I mean, my main focus now is just trying to get this Monster sponsorship. You know what I mean? So, but no, it's been good. It started out a little rough, but ever since mid-June, the pedal just hit the floor, and we've had a lot of opportunities and a lot of killer shows, and it's been really good.
Now, you shared a really interesting story on your Facebook page about what happened here. You had everything booked. You're a guy that's a meticulous planner. And then over the last couple of months, you had to change your entire lineup. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, I mean, 51 other Fridays of the year would have been great, but the first SmackDown on Fox had to be this Friday. So, we had a whole lineup set, and those guys all got pulled for SmackDown. And we were able to maintain Mick Foley. He's a trooper, and he's going to, fly out to L.A. and then fly back to do the show, which is madness in and of itself. But, we adapted. We got some other cool guests, and, in a way it was beneficial just because it forced me to reach outside of the circle that I have and to get some other people, and it's cool, I mean, Sergeant Slaughter's a legend, and, Hall and Nash are, the epitome of cool. I don't know if I've ever done a photo op with people that made me feel small before, but, we took a picture for social media when they got there, and I'm like, man, I feel like a midget. It's crazy. So, but it's good, man. The show's been good. The response has been good. People like the prints. People like the guests, and, we just try to keep repping wrestling at Comic-Con.
That's awesome. And for any fans that may have heard of Headlocked but maybe aren't too familiar with it, can you give us a little synopsis of what they can expect? For Headlocked.
Oh, about the series?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an HBO-style drama about a kid working his way through the wrestling business. We've actually got Volume 4 coming out. Jerry Lawler does the covers to it. The interiors are done by Mikel Molapola, who's a Samoan wrestler from New Zealand. So not only is it a book about the art of wrestling, but all the art is done by actual professional wrestlers. We've got Volume 4 is gonna be finished next week, and that'll be out momentarily. We're doing a collection of short stories this year that'll be out. We're gonna work on Volume 5. We've got some weird, some Hollywood actors that are interested in what we're doing, which is nuts. It's been crazy the past, I don't know, it's funny. For years, I've been beating the wrestling drum, and Comic-Con's kind of by myself, and now it's blowing up a little bit, you know what I mean? But it's nice to see, so it makes me happy.
And for those that don't know, you've had a number of pro wrestling contributors over to your books, but the man that really kicked it off for you was Jerry the King Lawler, and it's pretty incredible. I believe the dude is the ripe young age of 70 years old. He recently got cast on Monday Night Raw as an announcer again alongside Dio Madden and Vic Joseph, and he still got it. It's pretty incredible, and this guy's overcome a lot of tragedy, a lot of near-death situations, a lot of wrestling retirements where they take him off TV. Maybe they feel like he's too old, and here he is, 70 years old, back in the swing of things, doing his thing, also doing some great work with you. Can you just talk a little bit about Jerry Lawler, the person and the performer, and how he's able to just cheat death over time?
Jerry's amazing to me. I think that he'll never get the credit that he deserves for what he's brought to wrestling in this day and age. People don't realize, but almost everything that's sort of staple of what you consider modern wrestling, they did in Memphis first. Andy Kaufman had to go to Memphis because nobody would do the celebrity tie-in thing. You know what I mean? Obviously that became legendary, but he had Adam West on in Memphis as Batman. He had guys in monster masks wrestling as monsters. All this stuff that, these entertainment concepts. And then, 90% of ECW was right out of Memphis. So it's been really it's really cool to me that a lot of people just know him as as the puppies guy or whatever, but to me, he's one of the greatest performers. He's one of the greatest creative minds. to be able to have him do what he's doing for me is awesome. And people know him how they know him, and I know him, obviously very differently. Like, we go to art museums, which to me is amazing. You know what I mean? Like, people don't necessarily would think about that. But I've been to more art museums with Jerry Lawler than any other person on earth, and I think that's I don't know. I always kind of wish people would know him like I know him. You know what I mean? Because when you see people on TV, they just you assume that their persona is your persona, but knowing so many guys like you know what I mean? Like, it's just different. And but he's a good dude, and he's a creative dude, and I mean, he changed my life by being a part of Headlocked, and I'd step in front of a bus for the man if I could.
Well said. Now, you and I have both been around a lot of different wrestling veterans, legends like Jerry Lawler. Had the pleasure of calling some of these guys our friends. What's the most important lesson you've learned from Jerry the King Lawler?
Man, that's tough. I mean, he's definitely taught me a lot about wrestling, a lot about storytelling. I think the thing, honestly, that I learned from watching him is, like, he's still a fan of stuff. Like, he's a star. He's a star to so many people, but he never carries himself like a star. He's always told me, he goes, I feel like a guy that stuff happens to. And we'll go to Comic-Cons, we'll be in the green room and we'll mark out for celebrities, and we'll run through the convention and looking at art and stuff, and you know what I mean. He still likes what he likes, and he's and everybody's seen it. I mean, he's got like a Coke collection, and he's got Superman stuff and whatever. I mean, as famous as the guy is, and he's been famous way more of his life than he hasn't been famous. He never forgot to sort of keep his love for the things that he loves, and I think that's cool. It keeps you grounded. I mean, like I said, for a guy like that, super humble.
For sure. Now, before we let you go, we do appreciate the time. You got a ton of fans still coming in here to get autographs of the Outsiders and Gangrel. Where can fans find Headlocked online?
All of our social media is Headlocked Comic. Our website is headlockedcomic.com. Then Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the whole 9 yards. Our YouTube channel. We've got some exciting stuff coming up. 2020, I mean, I feel like we've been growing, but I think 2020 we're going to blow the doors off. So, if you haven't been on board, maybe now's the time to get on board, So come join our little mad world of nonsense and wrestling and comics, and it's fun. We got cookies.
Look who we ran into, our Broski buddies, Mike Rinsberg, Joseph Pompa, the current World Tag Team Champions of Comic-Con. Gentlemen, how's your NYCC experience so far?
So far, it's day one. It's freaking awesome. I love Comic-Con. I love the people here, the cosplay, the comics, the wrestlers. Everything that we all love is right here in one place. Plus, the best part is it's our Broski getaway weekend for all the guys each year, and I like to get away from my wife once in a blue moon. So, awesome time so far.
And speaking of wife, my man Joe here just got engaged, but you didn't just get engaged any normal way. You had the ultimate wrestling fan's dream. Let's take a look real quick. Now, Joe, as we saw right there, you got engaged via Zack Ryder and Curt Hawkins live in the flesh with a bunch of wrestling fans cheering you on. First of all, your fiance's got to be the coolest woman on planet Earth. How does it feel to be engaged, and how does it feel to have those proceeds be done by the Broskis?
It was a very cool experience. They were awesome about setting the whole thing up, and it's a very humbling experience being in that situation, and I'm speechless.
I'd say you're a lot more internet famous than me now, man. 60,000 views on that freaking video, Broski. But we've been coming here over the years, and we've seen the gap between wrestling, between comics, be bridged at this event. Can you guys just talk about why you choose to continue to rep our main man, Zack Ryder?
Why? Because he's the main Broski. He's awesome. That's all I could go and say. He's good with his fans. I like his in-ring action. So it's always a good time to represent the woo-woo-woo brand.
Curt, Hawkins, and Zack Ryder are just like us. They love collectibles. They love action figures. And it's basically like they do everything that we do. And they're the wrestlers and we're the fans.
And as somebody that's also met Zack Ryder with you guys, by the way, I got to say they're super humble. There's something to be said for being approachable, signing every autograph, taking every picture, talking to every fan. So before we go, gentlemen, you know the deal. How does the catchphrase go?
Woo, woo, woo.
You know it.
Bro.
They know it. We all know it.
He knows it.
I know it, and we'll get it right eventually.
I am the tag team champions.
No, I'm the tag team champion.
No, I'm the tag team champions.
No, I'm the tag team champions.
I don't think so.
Oh. Roll the tape, kids. We have right here Gary, the director of production for the game Summoner's War. Gary, how's Comic-Con treating you?
Actually, pretty good. This is my first time coming to New York. I mean, San Diego was bomb, and here was, wow, it's just crazy. I love it.
Now, I've heard a lot about your game. You guys have actually been around for about 5 years now, and it's only growing. You got a great crowd here. Can you tell people a little bit about the game?
Yeah, definitely. It's like a little bit of a role-playing game, a little bit of Final Fantasy and Pokemon kind of merged together, and also we have about 1,000 monsters to collect. And also, we're now have like a strong community of people. We're actually going into a little bit of esports as well. So we just finished up our America's Cup, Europe Cup, Asia Cup. Now the World Finals in Paris is going to happen actually this month.
That's pretty incredible. And you mentioned esports, and I feel like now with a lot of games, before they were created, and a lot of them just happen to become part of esports. And nowadays you see a lot of game developers creating games for the purpose of esports. So when you guys were creating this game, did you have it in the back of your mind like, hey, maybe this is something people could be competitive in?
Actually, we just thought this would be a little bit more of a casual kind of game set. And honestly, the community grew itself at this point. And this is like the amazing part where these people just gathered together and they're like having a little bit of a friendly competition with each other. Slowly, they started comparing their monsters and everything else. It's like, hey, you have a better monster than me. You know what? I'm going to try to get him. And then it just becomes competition. It's like, oh, you're better than me? You know what? It's kind of like a social gaming in some manner.
So I'm always curious, too, with these types of games, like, what made you choose the platforms here and to make it kind of like a mobile game and everything else? Because you think about like the consoles. I mean, that's an attractive model. Primarily PC, that's an attractive model. And at times it can be a hit or miss on mobile. Obviously, it's worked out for you guys and everything. But what went into kind of the decision making to say, okay, this is going to be the best platform or platform?
Actually, for Com2Us, when it first began, it was just started as a mobile gaming company. And so far, we did not really think about console, and we just stayed true to mobile altogether. And so Summer's War, of course, as a platform, we did first start off as, iTunes and also Google Play. But then out of nowhere, it's like, okay, let's try the Amazon App Store as well. So that's how much we expanded so far. So far, nothing about consoles and gaming, sadly.
What's the biggest misconception about your job?
With the director of production, per se, it's kind of a little bit confusing, I guess. Some people would consider, like, what do you exactly do? What is production? So they would be like, okay, does he do live operations? Does he do development? Most of the time, yeah, we do development in some manner. Live operations to make sure the server doesn't shut down and everything else. And recently for our occupation, we've been doing a lot for influencer relations, content creation to help and guide other people to play Summer's War. And influencers, like content creators, we would like to enforce and empower them to actually create more content and also become prominent people in the community.
What's a pro tip for somebody that hasn't played the game before?
You know what? Take it at your own pace and also play with friends all the time. This is a social game in many ways. It's to a point when you play with your friends and then you meet other people with the same passion, you get that goosebump type of feeling that it's like, I feel like I belong into this family. That's what Summer's War is all about.
Now we got a couple months left in the year. What have you guys got going on?
I can't really say much except for the World Finals that's going to happen in Paris. So that's going to be on October 25th. And we'll see who's going to take the crown champion. And this is going to be our third esports tournament for the year. So it's pretty exciting.
Fantastic. And before we let you go, where can fans find you in the game online?
Actually, if you guys want to, we do have a ComToUs USA Twitch channel. So it's ComToUs USA. We stream Summer's War every Friday and also Wednesday, 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. And also we also cater to the Portuguese, Brazilian community on Wednesdays, 4 to 5. We have soccer spirits. We have a lot.
It's always nice to be able to meet the fans. And without the fans are the ones that make the show a success. So, and we owe it all to them. We hear their stories and thoughts on things that we've done over the years. These are my people. I come from the convention world. I love it. So I'm excited to be with them and having fun with them about all things nerdy and glorious.
This year we've got a great panel, so we're going to start off right here to my right, the grand poobah of all things Headlocked Comics, writer extraordinaire, publisher extraordinaire, and someone who has broken through not just the expectations and the blueprints of what a pro wrestling book should be, but an independent comic book, and how it can be marketed, how it can be successful outside of the realm of Diamond and all those other wonderful distribution companies. Michael Kingston. Sorry, who said that? All right, so all the way at the end, one of the iconic stars of the WWF Attitude Era, the leader of the Brood. He's been banging for many years under many personas, but he's perhaps most beloved as Gangrel. To his immediate left, an incredibly talented artist who does a lot of the art prints that Headlocked release, with the mashups of great iconic Marvel and DC comic book covers featuring pro wrestling personalities and pro wrestling scenarios. He's going to be doing artwork for the upcoming Headlocked book, which we will talk about in a few minutes. And he's also done some artwork of late for Chikara. He's an incredible artist, Mr. Doug Hills. Now I know that Mick introduced her, and he talked about some of the things that she's done in the wrestling realm. But Miss Jill Thompson is one of the most iconic, wonderful artists and writers who have ever been around in comic books. Wonder Woman, Swamp Thing, Scary Godmother, and of course Sandman, Miss Jill Thompson. And last but not least, not that we really need to introduce him, but the pride of Long Island, WWE Hall of Famer, King of the Death Match, and one of the most genuine, wonderful people who have ever been around the world of professional wrestling. He broke the boundaries for what people believe pro wrestling fans would actually like with his first autobiography, Have a Nice Day, A Tale of Blood and Sweat Socks. And he's also done an amazing amount of charity work, not just here in this country, but all over the world. If there is a wonderful person that you can point at and say, this is what classic pro wrestling is about, it's this man, Mick Foley. So, Michael, we'll start with you. I know we've got some new projects coming up, but before we get there, for those who aren't familiar with Headlocked, how many of you have read the Headlocked book previously? All right, that's a good amount. So for those of you who haven't been to the booth yet, who should come over later?
That's booth number 137.
There you go.
Booth me, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Gangrel, Sergeant Slaughter. Tomorrow, Janela Baby will be there, so yeah, we got a Janela Baby. I really appreciate that. Yeah, so stop by and say hello.
All right, so Mike, talk a little bit about the origin of Headlocked and wanting to create something that you didn't see in the marketplace that you know you'd enjoy.
Yeah, I was a wrestling fan and a comic book fan for a good chunk of my life, probably since I was about 7, 8 years old, and I would buy every wrestling comic that came out, and there wasn't, it wasn't stuff that I really wanted to read. A lot of it was just, it was different. It was like wrestling comic books, but they weren't about wrestling. They were, wrestlers doing things other than wrestling. And so, I thought that, if
Are you talking about the WCW comic book where Cactus Jack became an international terrorist by planting a bomb on a cruise ship?
I mean, and maybe making a veiled reference to that book.
The last one of this cruise.
But yeah, so I thought, like, if I, as a wrestling fan, would want to read this, then maybe other wrestling fans would want to read something similar. So, I took it, I made up a pitch, I planned it, I took it around, and I was summarily laughed out of the every meeting I was in, I mean, like, literally straight laughed at. People like, wrestling and comics, like, what is that? An audience, and then Kickstarter became a thing, and that enabled us to make the book sort of semi-regular as much as we can, and while holding down a regular job. But it's been a little bit of a journey, and I'm really kind of excited where we're at, and very excited where we're going.
So, for those who have never seen the book, it treats pro wrestling as a serious subject. It's not a very silly version of pro wrestling. The main character is a character named Mike Hartman, who's a college-age drama student who discovers pro wrestling, falls in love with it, he wants to do it, and realizes this is not going to be as easy as he thinks. Talk a little bit about the voice of Mike Hartman and why he was the initial entry into the world of Headlocked.
I wanted somebody that anybody could read. So you starting at the ground level from day zero. I wanted it to be accessible to anybody. Because ultimately, you think about like Rocky. How many people watch Rocky? It's a super popular movie, but how many people watch boxing? Sort of on the reg. Not as many, obviously. So, I mean, I felt like if you could tell an entertaining enough story that people would be interested in it. So I wanted to make it so people could follow it from the beginning. So he's basically a blank slate who steps into the business and makes 100 mistakes. Like I think anybody does, though. I made 100 mistakes when I decided to publish Headlocked, and I think everybody that walks into starts to do something that there's not like a prescribed path on. They all make mistakes, and that sort of drives some of the story going at the beginning, and it's sort of examining the craft of wrestling through the eyes of a performance artist. So I want people who maybe have that sort of snap judgment about wrestling and have that sort of stuffy attitude that people used to have when I grew up, to be able to maybe read a story and be like, wow, this is entertaining, and then sort of you hide the medicine and the food kind of thing. And
Can I interject here? You've been able to enlist several wrestlers to participate in writing stories, right?
Correct.
Who are some of the people you have on board who have already contributed, and maybe one contributing to an upcoming project?
We've been really fortunate. I mean, obviously we got Jerry the King Lawler paints our covers, but we have Hurricane's done a story for us, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Rob Van Dam, Booker T did a piece of art for the book, and then the book.
Booker T did art. I didn't know Booker T did art.
We have actually in the book that's upcoming, Fred Richani Tugboat did a piece of art for it. So
the deal between Mike Kingston and myself, I did write a story for the upcoming book, was made at New York Comic Con like 4 years ago, because it's expensive. This is like real estate, right? To have a table, how much do you have to pay to have those two tables there?
it's a lot more than that.
It's a lot of money. So he told me that I could have a spot at the table for no charge if I would write a story for him. And then I think a good year went by.
You've been that for 4 years.
But a year went by, and he was like, you got that story? I was like, Mike, I don't know how to write for comics. So I essentially sent over, how many thousand words is it? 3?
It's a lot of words.
It's like 3 or 4 thousand. I just wrote it like a short story, because I don't know how to attribute dialogue and all that. I was like, here's the story. I want Jill Thompson to do the art, or nobody's doing the art, and then you make out of it what you will. And so I'm really interested in how we whittled down those 3,000 or 4,000 words into yeah, you did? All right. Excellent. But it's a good story. It is a wrestling-driven Christmas story, and I'm pretty proud of it. I think if Hallmark allowed graphic bloodletting in their movies, there's blood, and there are a lot of them. There you go. Okay.
I did find blood in my overhead light from spattering blood on the pages. Right before I left, I looked up, what's that? Oh, that's the blood.
I believe we have 2 guests here who get to say a word, right?
That is true.
Right. So, Gangrel,
would you like to take the podium?
He's a vampire. He's a vampire, but he's a sensitive vampire. So I think we need to hear from him as well. David.
Well, I was just going to say that Gangrel and Mike have been working on a story, and I figured you guys could talk about it, because one of the infamous stories that Mike always mentions on these panels is a famous cryptozoological character who has entered the Headlocked universe, and Gangrel is very much responsible for this. So, Mike, why don't we talk a little bit about that?
Well, I hope I don't disappoint anybody, but I'm going to pull these fangs out. Other than that, it's going to be the Gallagher splash zone here. You can do what you want. Kind of a sham when you're pulling up here, Gangrel.
My childhood is ruined.
I don't get booked anymore anyway. It's a tough one. I'm a big, of course I love pro wrestling, and you know, I've done it 32 years this September. I've been wrestling 32 years, and Mick used to call me the most injured man in pro wrestling. That shoulder, he used to pop out of his socket, and he would put it back in and continue wrestling, man. That's tough. But with the love of pro wrestling, I also have a fascination and a love for Bigfoot. So, you know, I would talk to Mike, we did different cons here, and I was like, man, I got this Bigfoot idea, you know, I want somehow, if we can get Bigfoot, meet a group of wrestlers or whatnot, and he decided to make it promoters. He went a different route, but he works his way into the wrestling world, but everybody thinks he's not Bigfoot and he's a human, you know. So Bigfoot gets in there and it's about Bigfoot and wrestling, and it's really fun. He's done a lot of things I've done and a lot of things I've seen. Actually, he likes to be able to tone it down. It was a bit filthy, so.
Set in the 80s in the Pacific Northwest, and you have a family-owned wrestling promotion that's feeling the strain for sort of national expansion. So, you know, picture Portland wrestling when WWE's coming to town, and you know, the guy's going out of business, and he feels like he's let his family down, and it's a little dark here for a second, and he goes into the woods.
It's really dark. He's scared
to commit suicide, and Bigfoot stops him. And then, like any wrestling promoter worth his salt, he decides to train Bigfoot to be a wrestler. Everybody thinks it's a gimmick, but it's really Bigfoot. And then, since it's the 80s, you know we're gonna get Bigfoot hooked on coke. So.
Well, folks, I hope you enjoyed that special look at NYCC 19. We ran into some old friends. We made a lot of new ones. We even got to check out the Headlocked Comic panel featuring some wrestling legends and our good friend Mike Kingston. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, take care. And if you like this special look at Comic-Con, maybe you want to check out our other videos, subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, follow our podcast, do what you got to do. And until next time, everybody, as always, enjoy the games, the comics, and hopefully we'll see you next year.